Avengers Secret Wars, the conclusion to the cliffhanger after Doomsday, has long been suspected that it's going to serve as a major reboot for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, allowing for legacy characters to be basically retired, phased out, and new actors to be cast in the roles of long-standing superheroes, like recasting all of the Avengers, for example. Although that may not be the case now. But it also means merging the various universes together. And I don't know why they feel they need to do it using the multiverse. Why not just end the MCU and start an entirely new cinematic universe from scratch with new actors in the same roles? I mean, the reason for that hesitancy might be because of audiences having familiarity with certain actors in certain roles. And of course, as we know, nostalgia sells. And I think Disney Marvel know this. They want to reboot the franchise, but they're taking a very cautious, conservative approach. But at the same time, they don't want to totally close the door on the 6 phases of the MCU that they've built. They don't want to give up on some of the legacy characters and actors. And I think they kind of want to have their cake and eat it as well. In other words, they want to reboot, but they also want to be able to bring back some people whenever it suits them. And in that way, it keeps long-time fans happy by seeing familiar actors playing their favorite characters. Now, on this subject, I wanted to take a look at this article from Geeks and Gamers. The full article is linked below in the description box if you want to read it for yourself. It says Kevin Feige claims the Marvel Cinematic Universe won't reboot after Avengers Secret Wars. During an appearance on Josh Horowitz's Happy Sad Confused podcast, Feige addressed persistent speculation that Secret Wars would completely reboot the MCU after the conclusion of Phase 6, which is exactly what many of us were expecting was going to happen. His answer was direct no. Instead of wiping the slate clean, Feige said Marvel is looking to the comics, specifically Jonathan Hickman's Secret Wars, as a guide for what comes next. So it seems that comic book Secret Wars is going to be, I suppose, the inspiration and the roadmap for where they're going next, although they don't necessarily have to follow it directly. They rarely follow the comics exactly as they were written. They always deviate a little bit, which is a good thing because I don't want to see like-for-like adaptations of the comics. I want to be surprised. Back in 2025, Feige said, "Reboot is a scary word," he said. Reboot can mean a lot of things to a lot of people. Reset, singular timeline. We're thinking along those lines. X-Men is where that will happen next. So yes, it appears that the X-Men will become a more significant part of the MCU going forward, albeit likely with an almost entirely new X-Men cast, obviously because the original X-Men cast are getting on in years, of course. It says, while Hickman's Secret Wars dramatically reshaped Marvel Comics, it wasn't a complete continuity wipe. Indeed, it retains some elements of what went before. So it's somewhere between a reboot and, I guess, a reset. So yeah, it's partial reboot, I suppose. It says, instead, the event streamlined Marvel's sprawling multiverse while allowing popular elements from alternate realities to become part of main Marvel universe. Yes, so it did create one single timeline, one unified universe, and it simplified a lot of things. It simplified everything. But of course, the multiverse is a plot device that seems like a cool gimmick in the beginning, but it just creates an unnecessary continuity mess and complicates everything, needlessly so. So it says, rather than erasing Iron Man, Captain America, or the Infinity Saga from history, Marvel could simply merge select characters and franchises into one unified timeline while leaving the broader MCU intact. And so it looks like that's the approach that they're going to take after Secret Wars. It says such an approach would allow Marvel to introduce mutants, recast legacy heroes where necessary, and retain fan-favorite characters without pretending the previous 2 decades never happened. So yeah, the actors who are iconic for playing certain characters can always be brought back. If they feel maybe they're lacking in a certain degree of confidence with, recasting, because there's some characters who will just always be one particular actor, and it's just very hard to change the minds of audiences to accept anyone else in the role. So I think they're probably aware of that and leaning into that with this strategy. So you can see why they didn't end the MCU. They didn't just discontinue it and do a total blank slate reboot. They wanted to retain an in-universe explanation for why some characters will be recast and others won't be. Now, adding to this, and I think this is another very important nugget of information that I wasn't aware of, but it's very obvious that you would expect something like this. But Gary over at Nerdrotic did mention a rumor in a recent stream with Chris Gore from Film Threat. Gary has known for some time about this rumor, and I think it factors majorly into this future reset strategy for the MCU, which is that Robert Downey Jr. is not only going to return as Doctor Doom, but he will eventually return to play Tony Stark, Iron Man, for the foreseeable future, it sounds like. That's the whisper that he's heard from the grapevine. So I would not be surprised if if he shows up in future Avengers movies, but also maybe part of the X-Men or even a new Iron Man movie. And I think if that's the case, it only further cements Marvel's decision and the reason why they're bringing back RDJ. Even though Robert Downey Jr. is now 61 years old, I think they want the flexibility of being able to bring him back occasionally alongside a mostly new, younger cast of Marvel characters, and he would then be the senior mentor figure for the younger characters. And I guess also they could theoretically de-age him if they wanted to do things like flashbacks or even a prequel of some kind to an earlier point in the MCU. But to be honest, though, I understand why they're doing this. It isn't going to make the Marvel continuity any easier to follow, though. I think it'll likely just complicate things further. As for RDJ returning as Tony Stark and Iron Man, yeah, it was inevitable. They can't bring him back and then not have him suit up as Iron Man at some point. Tony Stark is ultimately the character that defined the rebirth of Robert Downey Jr.'s career, and that's who fans truly wanted to see him play once again. But it does seem like Marvel is trying to move forward, but they're unwilling to totally separate themselves from the past, from the glory days of the franchise. So obviously time will tell if this turns out to be the best solution for the future of the MCU. Look, I think in the long run, it's always better to just go blank slate and start all over again. And any of these multiverse decisions that they make can just be undone whenever they choose. I mean, there's nothing really set in stone here. And so, I mean, a lot of the crossovers that we've seen in recent years, whether it was the 3 different Spider-Men on screen at the same time, or bringing in the X-Men, or all that sort of stuff, I mean, a lot of those things were just unthinkable up until the time when the multiverse plot device was introduced. And at that stage, all bets were off, anything was possible, and it will continue to be. And so I'd love to see it be retired completely, but it is the one plot device that allows them to do the nostalgia thing, to do nostalgia bait, and nostalgia sells. So there you go. Let me know your thoughts on this one in the comments below, guys. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell to be notified of future updates. Share the video out there. Take care. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.